was a Saturday when I decided to visit the beach. The sun was bright, the sky was clear, and I felt the need to escape the chaos of daily life. My friends had plans, but I preferred solitude. I packed a small bag with a towel, some snacks, and a novel I had been meaning to read. After a short drive, I arrived at the beach, greeted by the soothing sound of waves crashing against the shore. The beach was relatively empty, save for a few families scattered about. I found a quiet spot away from the crowds, set my things down, and stretched out on my towel. The warm sand felt good beneath me. As I began to read, I let the sound of the ocean lull me into a sense of peace. After a while, I decided to take a dip. The water was cool and refreshing, a welcome relief from the heat. As I swam, I noticed how peaceful the ocean felt. It was mesmerizing. The rhythmic ebb and flow of the waves almost hypnotic. I floated on my back, gazing up at the sky, letting my mind drift. When I returned to shore, I noticed that the sun was beginning to set. The vibrant colors painted across the sky were breathtaking, but there was something about the fading light that made me uneasy. The beach, once welcoming, felt different as shadows stretched across the sand. I shook off the feeling and resumed my place on the towel, hoping to catch a few more pages of my book before leaving. Suddenly, a strong wind picked up, and I heard something that made me stop reading. It was a faint sound, almost like whispers carried by the breeze. I looked around, but the beach was still mostly empty. The families I'd seen earlier were packing up to leave. I brushed it off as the wind playing tricks on my ears and resumed reading, but the whispers didn't stop. They seemed to grow louder, swirling around me, and I could almost make out words. I looked up again, scanning the beach for the source. No one was near me. The remaining beachgoers were further down the shore. Feeling uneasy, I decided it was time to pack up and head home. As I rolled my towel and stuffed it into my bag, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I turned to face the water and caught sight of something moving just beneath the surface. My heart raced. Was it a fish, or maybe a piece of debris? I squinted, but the moment I tried to focus, it vanished. Shaking off the unease, I walked toward my car. The whispers seemed to follow me, growing more insistent with each step. They filled my mind with fragmented thoughts, words I couldn't grasp. I hurried my pace, and as I reached the parking lot, I noticed the shadows around me seemed to shift unnaturally. I got into my car and locked the doors, trying to calm my racing heart. As I turned the key in the ignition, I glanced back at the beach one last time. The water glimmered under the last rays of sunlight, but the whispers intensified. I could feel a chill run down my spine. I pulled out of the parking lot and drove home, but the whispers lingered in my mind. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was just the wind, or perhaps I was too tired, but deep down I felt something was off. When I arrived home, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. I tried to distract myself with TV and music, but the whispers echoed in my thoughts. It felt like they were teasing me, dancing just out of reach, taunting me with secrets I wasn't meant to know. That night, as I lay in bed, the whispers became clearer. They invaded my dreams, turning into distorted phrases that twisted my mind. I awoke in a panic, drenched in sweat. I could have sworn I heard the whispers again, this time louder and more distinct, filling my room with a chilling presence. The next day, I decided I wouldn't let fear control me. I wanted answers. I returned to the beach, determined to confront whatever had disturbed my peace. As I stood at the water's edge, the whispers returned, swirling around me like a storm. I could feel the air grow heavy, and my heart raced. I waded into the water, the cold waves lapping at my legs. "What do you want?" I shouted, the words swallowed by the crashing waves. The whispers ceased, leaving only the sound of the ocean. I felt a moment of clarity wash over me. Perhaps the whispers were simply echoes of lost souls, stories of the past that needed to be heard. I turned and walked back to shore, feeling lighter, but as I dried off and prepared to leave, a sense of dread returned. As I drove home, the whispers didn't follow me. The beach was quiet, but I could still feel their presence lurking just beyond the water. That night I tried to sleep, but the whispers crept back into my dreams. They twisted and turned, echoing haunting phrases I couldn't understand. Each time I woke up, I felt more exhausted, as if the whispers were stealing my energy. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself returning to the beach, hoping to uncover the truth behind the whispers. But each time, I left feeling emptier. The whispers grew fainter, but the feeling of being watched never faded. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I sat at the water's edge, reflecting on my encounters. I whispered into the wind, "I'm listening." For the first time, the whispers seemed to quiet, and I felt a strange sense of peace. I stood up, ready to leave, but as I turned, I heard a final whisper, a chilling farewell that echoed in my mind. I knew then that the beach held its secrets close. As I walked away, I realized I might never fully understand what had happened, but in that moment, I accepted that some mysteries were not meant to be solved. I left the beach behind, knowing that I would carry the whispers with me, a haunting reminder of a place where the past lingers just beneath the surface. It was a warm Saturday when I decided to escape the noise of the city and head to my favorite beach, known for its serene atmosphere and stunning tidal pools. I had been feeling overwhelmed with work and needed some time alone to recharge. The drive was calming, with the ocean on one side and rolling hills on the other. When I arrived, I found the beach nearly empty, except for a few families enjoying the day. I spread my towel on the warm sand and took a deep breath, letting the salty air fill my lungs. After basking in the sun for a while, I decided to explore the tidal pools that formed along the rocky shoreline. As I walked, I marveled at the sea creatures nestled in the pools, colorful starfish, small crabs scuttling about, and even a few anemones swaying gently in the water. It felt like a hidden world, untouched and peaceful. But as I ventured further down the beach, I noticed something odd. The pools seemed to have a strange, almost hypnotic quality, drawing me closer. I found a particularly large tidal pool surrounded by jagged rocks. The water was crystal clear, revealing a vibrant underwater landscape. However, there was something unsettling about this pool. As I peered into it, I felt a sudden chill, and the air seemed to grow heavier around me. Brushing off my discomfort, I sat on a nearby rock and dipped my toes into the water. The moment my skin touched the surface, a wave of images flooded my mind. Visions of a shipwreck, dark waters, and desperate faces pleading for help. I gasped and pulled my foot back, shaken. It was just my imagination, I told myself, but the feeling lingered. I decided to leave the tidal pool behind and continue my exploration. However, the sensation of being watched followed me. I could swear I heard faint whispers on the wind, but I brushed it off as the sound of the ocean. As the sun began to set, I returned to the tidal pool one last time, unable to shake the feeling that something was calling me. I knelt down and looked into the water again. This time, the reflections seemed to shift, showing not only the underwater life but also fleeting images of the past. Suddenly, the air grew cold, and I felt a strong urge to reach into the water. Against my better judgment, I extended my hand. Just as my fingers grazed the surface, a sharp wave crashed against the rocks, soaking me from head to toe. I stumbled back, completely soaked and gasping for breath, and the whispers grew louder, echoing in my mind. Frightened, I scrambled back to the beach. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had awakened something in that tidal pool, something that wanted to share its secrets but also wanted to keep me trapped in its depths. I hurried to my car, my heart racing. As I drove away, the beach faded in my rearview mirror, but the whispers followed me. They lingered in my mind, leaving a cold chill that refused to fade. That night, I tried to forget the day's events, but sleep eluded me. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back at the tidal pool, the water calling me back. I awoke in a panic, drenched in sweat, feeling like I had narrowly escaped something sinister. In the days that followed, I avoided the beach, but the memories haunted me. I read about the history of the area and discovered that the beach was known for its shipwrecks and tragic tales of sailors lost at sea. Each story felt eerily familiar, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had tapped into something ancient and dangerous. Eventually, I returned to the beach, determined to confront my fears. As I approached the tidal pool, the whispers intensified, swirling around me like a tempest. I knelt down and looked into the water one last time. Instead of fear, I felt a sense of understanding. I realized the whispers weren't meant to harm me. They were the echoes of those lost at sea, their stories longing to be told. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, allowing their voices to wash over me. In that moment, I felt a connection, a shared history that transcended time. I stood up, feeling lighter, and walked away from the pool, finally at peace with the past. As I left the beach behind, I knew I would carry those stories with me, not as a burden, but as a reminder of the deep secrets the ocean held, and the souls forever intertwined with its tides.